The Rock month continues with another obvious mention, Walking Tall. Walking Tall would be The Rock's third acting role and to be considered by many as one of his best solo, non-franchise films. So does Walking Tall still hold up? Let's find out. Walking Tall is an action film released in 2004 to mild commercial success and rather abysmal acclaim. The film is loosely based on the 1973 original, titled the same, that followed Tennessee Sheriff Buford Pusser. Yes, the man's name was Buford Pusser.
Is the subject of the movie Walking Tall, Buford Pusser.
Pusser's character was out to avenge the death of his wife. The Rock's film is a bit different, as he plays Chris Vaughn, a Special Forces veteran returning to his small town home in Kitsap, Washington. Kitsap used to be home to a successful factory, one that was eventually shut down in favor of a casino.
Simple economics.
The town has taken a turn for the worse with criminal activity on the rise. One has to approach Walking Tall with a certain blinder on. This remake of the 1973 film feels like an action film in the vein of Charles Bronson films from the 70s.
I warned you! I tell you!
Everything feels cold, without calculation, and almost goofy in setup. As the film is a remake of the 70s revenge flick, it's easy to see this as the main inspiration for a lot of the film's setup. Vaughn, who returns home, eventually meets up with buddies to go to a casino. Not before we see a cliched, 90s-esque football scene with rock music, mind you.
How's that for touch?
Oh, that was pretty, wasn't it?
Wanna go get your pads?
Is that the best you got?
What?
Here, take a walk. No.
Knock a lung loose?
Touchdown.
First and your last.
One thing to point out in particular about this scene, this truck, as soon as it drove in, reminded me of a moment my last review for the Rock month, The Rundown. You can't watch this scene and not want to shoot up some steroids, drive a diesel truck, and drink Red Bull. Vaughn is brought to the casino to be entertained by dancing ladies and gambling. He's enjoying himself until he catches a dealer cheating with loaded dice.
You're good. But I saw it. Saw it.
Vaughn then escalates pretty darn quickly and eventually is attacked by security. This entire ordeal ends up turning into an all-out brawl in the casino. It's absolutely asinine, especially when it started with just catching a dealer cheating. It would go on to be escalated further as Vaughn would then be practically tortured and maimed by this guy. You know, this guy that plays a villain in every movie he's in? I'm sure his mother still loves him though. Vaughn spends a decent amount of time in the hospital rehabbing, but this also falls into one of Walking Tall's biggest faults. Jumps in time. The film's runtime is far too brisk, clocking in an 86 total minutes. Vaughn, who was nearly beaten to death, left in the rain to basically die, doesn't really have that clinging to life feeling in the hospital. We don't see his recovery and thus kind of dilutes the damage done to him. It's within a scene or two that he's walking around as if nothing happened. Walking Tall does numerous jumps in time, but the plot, trying to be semi-realistic, doesn't really supply enough material for the logic to make sense. Vaughn is eventually pushed over the line with his nephew overdosing on meth. Meth supplied by the same people that tortured Vaughn.
Where?
From the security guys working at the casino.
So Vaughn goes on nearly a killing spree to send a message. Almost immediately, he's arrested and put on trial for retaliation against Hamilton's casino operations.
So dangerous, so highly trained, that he dispatched 6 of the casino security staff single-handedly.
Vaughn makes a plea to the town to become sheriff and make drastic changes.
I was justified in what I did. And if you acquit me of these charges, then I'm gonna run for sheriff.
Mr. Vaughn.
And if elected, I'm gonna fix this town.
Without letting the plot breathe or allow characters to develop in difficult situations, the next scene is literally Vaughn as sheriff. We didn't see him run or earn this spot, he was just given it.
Watkins?
Well, you won the election. Congratulations.
Like the situation with him being in the hospital, this passed up a moment to have the main character develop better relationships with his family. Walking Tall does bring a few quality things to the table, but at the same time, it doesn't. Obviously, The Rock's presence is what makes this film worth watching.
You're right, Jay. This does change our relationship. This is my town.
If it was anyone else, including a sleepwalking Bruce Willis,
Keep working, old man.
I'll take you anytime, punk.
this film might be in a DVD bin somewhere.
Break it down for me.
It needs that charisma, that larger-than-life persona that someone like an Arnold Schwarzenegger or The Rock clearly bring.
Break it down for me.
His presence on screen immediately adds an oomph that the film desperately needs.
Sir, get your tail lights fixed. It's your last warning.
What's wrong with my taillights?
They're broken.
The action scenes, for the most part, are well shot and are fairly well executed. Seeing The Rock hurt, especially to the level he was, created this gratifying feeling to see him finally stand up to the town's evil. The Rock also shares screen time with another beloved villain, Hamilton, played by Neil McDonough. Mr. McDonough fits that niche of character actors known as, oh, yeah, that guy.
I'm really sorry you feel that way.
He plays Jay Hamilton, the ringleader for the casino and villain to the town of Kitsap. Hamilton, much like Christopher Walken's Hatcher, isn't a mustache-twirling, goofy, laughing bad guy.
Oh, I feel so much better.
This guy comes off as a preppy rich kid who fell on money and is running the town through his casino and other nefarious acts. You get this feeling with the football scene, him driving around in his Escalade and sporting a sweat jacket. Neil McDonough is completely fine in this role, but it should be noted, if you really want to see this actor chew some scenery, check him out playing M. Bison in the Street Fighter movie.
Good morning. Or is it evil?
While the script isn't nearly as intelligent or thought out as James Vanderbilt's script for The Rundown, David Klass, who would do the script, was smart on his approach to action scenes. Vaughn is a Special Forces veteran who just so happens to be, well, The Rock. He shows many instances of holding his own against numerous men. His final fight with M. Bison, Hamilton, requires some inventive thinking to keep the fight interesting. And yeah, I'm aware this review might seem harsh. Walking Tall isn't nearly as entertaining, thought out, or as inventive as The Rundown. Hell, I completely forgot about the buddy-buddy relationship between The Rock and Johnny Knoxville. So yes, it's another action movie with a stoic performance from The Rock, with a goofy white best friend, and a rich white businessman.
I'm really sorry you feel that way.
The relationship between Knoxville and The Rock, unlike The Rundown, was entirely forgettable and again, really needed additional screen time. For all my faults with Walking Tall, it is reminiscent of a film from another generational action star, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Collateral Damage.
So you want collateral damage, huh? Who the fuck are you? I give you fucking collateral damage.
Both films were critically panned, received less than desirable box office results. Both films show the actors, one at the beginning of an astronomical career, the other at the end, in heroically vulnerable positions. Something incredibly rare and yet entirely rewarding.
What's the difference between you and I?
The difference is, I'm just gonna kill you.
Arnold's character, Gordon Brewer, is a simple man, a firefighter just trying to avenge his family. Similar to The Rock's Chris Vaughn, a clearly tormented war veteran out to avenge his criminally ill-ridden town. Both are harmless entertainment that are worth a weekend watch. Like The Rock Month, Walking Tall is worth watching simply for the title hero himself.
I'm really sorry you feel that way.